Hello and welcome to Fox 54's Week in Review. I'm Ken McCoy. And this week we have a supersized edition of the show. A lot went down in North Alabama this week. Here's a taste of what's ahead. Kerry Goode, the pride of Hazel High, once dreamed of NFL glory before a devastating health diagnosis. Now he lives by the mantra, keep on fighting. Kerry and his family spoke with Fox 54 for an exclusive interview. And you'll be seeing this show's area farmer a lot in the next few months. He's been selected as one of the eligible bachelors on Fox's reality hit, Farmer Wants a Wife. Get to know him and what he wants in a partner later on in the show. And return to office orders went into effect for thousands of Redstone Arsenal employees this week. And that meant more cars back at the Arsenal gates. How officials prepare for the influx of traffic. And many Huntsville utility customers who were given a $100 grant a few months ago are angered that they're being asked to pay it back. What led to the money being rescinded? And Black History Month is in full swing, and history just recently being made with the city of Huntsville's first ever Black female council member, Michelle Watkins. You'll get to know her better as this Week in Review gets started. But we're going to start this week with a series of follow-ups into a big local story, the closure of the Huntsville College Preparatory Academy. HCPA's abrupt closure earlier this month put parents in a lurch and demanding the return of tuition payments. This week, it was learned the operators of the school are now under police investigation.
First on Fox 54 exclusive, we have learned that a closed Huntsville private school is now the focal point of a police investigation. Huntsville police confirmed to Fox 54 that Huntsville College Preparatory School is officially being investigated for fraud. It's the same school that abruptly shut down last week, leaving families scrambling for alternatives midway through the academic year. The principal and school co-owner reportedly told parents that the school needed to submit a $14,000 deposit to the utility company to get the campus functional again after a water line break. Campus classes were supposed to resume this month, but they didn't resume at all. Fox 54 spoke to one parent who, up until recently, trusted the school and was almost shocked by the news of a police investigation.
I guess on one hand, I am surprised. On one hand, I'm not, because of the way that things unfolded, because there just seemed to be kind of one lie after another, or one sort of delay after another. You know, first it was, we're going to do online classes. And then it was, no, we're shutting down the school. It's like, whoa, that's like a big jump, you know. So it's just like, you know, there's been a lack of transparency.
Fox 54 spoke exclusively with a former teacher at Huntsville College Preparatory School, which shut down suddenly last week and is now under investigation for fraud. The principal and school co-owner reportedly told parents that the school needed to submit a $14,000 deposit to the utility company to get the campus functional again after a water line break. Campus classes were supposed to resume this month, but they didn't resume at all. Huntsville police now actively working on an investigation into fraud claims against the school. One former teacher tells us there were more than money problems at the school.
We had little to no resources. Staff was leaving left to right just because of mistreatment, and if you were vocalized about this mistreatment or vocalized about your pay, you would continuously just be unheard. I also became aware that my 401 contributions weren't being made. They were being taken out of my account for over 4 months. And the money that I once thought was accessible is not there. I reached out to the 401k company, and they relayed to me that they have tried to reach out to Monique multiple times, but they have not received any success in doing so.
Yes, and that former teacher's voice has been altered to remain anonymous. This teacher also tells us she has yet to receive her W-2 for tax filing purposes. Fox 54 continues to investigate this situation as we try to learn more about what led to the closure and the status of the fraud investigation. For the latest updates, go to fox54.com. The investigation into a missing Huntsville realtor, now an abduction case. It's where we start. I'm Kenesha Dees. We're learning new information tonight about Ronald Dumas Jr. He was last heard from on December 15th. The Huntsville Police Department tell us they have new evidence indicating that Dumas was abducted. Dumas was last seen on surveillance footage entering a liquor store with 2 women on December 15th, police say. He left the store with them apparently unharmed, but HPD has now learned the women may have been involved in his abduction. With assistance from the FBI, a 450-acre area south of Memphis was identified as a potential location for Dumas. A search of the area was conducted yesterday by 20 investigators with the help of search dogs and drones to gather evidence and potentially Dumas himself. As far as we know at this time, Dumas has not been located. Dumas' family spoke with us this afternoon to comment on these updates.
We have now received confirmation from the investigators that Ronnie was taken against his will.
New details released in a now abduction case of Ronald Dumas Jr. were learned from Huntsville Police Department minutes before an update from Dumas' family Friday afternoon. The mothers of Dumas' kids begging for answers.
We want him home. If you know something, please say something to us. We need him back.
This new information comes nearly 2 months after Dumas was first reported missing. The Huntsville Police Department has previously stated no foul play was suspected and didn't believe he was in any danger.
If they had taken things seriously from day one and looked into things like his bank records, or they were able to get a timeline, they would have been able to track down the video from the liquor store sooner.
HPD says Dumas stopped by Mid-City Liquor Store on University Drive with 2 women looking unharmed from surveillance footage. Now, 54 days since Dumas was last seen, the mothers of his children looking for closure, not just for them, but for their kids.
Our kids need closure. They need it.
Dumas has a 12-year-old son and 2 daughters aged at 4 and 5 years old.
Consoling our children is so tiring. We're just to the point now where we want to know what happened and we want to know where he is.
My daughter walks around with her dad picture, goes to sleep with it, sets it up by her bed so that she can look at it while she is asleep.
Could you imagine having to tell your child your dad was abducted, your dad has possibly been murdered, or whatever the case may be? It's a very difficult situation, and we just want answers at this point.
The family says they're still offering a reward of $10,000 for any tips on where Dumas may be, but that reward now has a deadline of February 28th. In Huntsville, Gabe Glassman, Fox 54 News.
Multiple warrants have been issued for those believed to be involved. Quintarius White and Teray McLaurin of Memphis wanted for kidnapping. Sabrina Chambers of Huntsville wanted for kidnapping, and Kiara Clark of Memphis wanted for conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Carissa Cash of Memphis wanted for receiving stolen property. The Fox station in Memphis is reporting tonight some of these suspects have a long history of arrests unrelated to the Dumas case. In fact, Quintarius White is out on bond right now, awaiting trial on counts including aggravated kidnapping, robbery, and trafficking for commercial sex acts. He's already convicted for a felony. Kiara Clark is out on bond as she faces her own counts of kidnapping, assault, and sex trafficking. And Teray McLaurin recently completed 8 years of probation following convictions on several felony charges ranging from carjacking to robbery to gun counts. Police urge anyone who recognizes or encounters these individuals to report their location to local law enforcement immediately. Dumas is now listed as a missing and endangered adult on Aaliyah's missing persons list. And anyone, again, with any information is asked to contact Investigator Gibbs with Huntsville Police Department at 256-427-5448.
Well, funding, or the lack thereof, is a big concern for school leaders. At this morning's State of the Schools, superintendents with Huntsville City, Madison City, and Madison County schools are asking for more accountability. They argue that the state hands out mandates for schools to follow, but they don't provide adequate funding to carry out those mandates, leaving the burden on the schools. Our Ken McCoy has more on what these leaders want to see done.
Number 117. That's where the city of Huntsville ranks when it comes to receiving state funding.
Imagine Huntsville, Alabama, 117. And all that we just talked about offering. Most of the stuff we just discussed, we have to pay with our local funds.
Our federal government and our state government are really good at creating mandates for school systems. The problem is they don't provide the funding to go along with the mandates.
Superintendents with local school districts say they are looking for more accountability when it comes to their schools getting the necessary funds to maintain student success. Dr. Nichols with Madison City Schools explains how unfunded mandates can become a heavy burden.
An unfunded mandate is when the State Department or the federal government tells you you have to do something as a school district, but they don't give you the money to do what they've asked you, such as summer programs for the Literacy Act, but they don't fund the summer programs, or the requirement of having the programs for your special education, but they only fund 17% of those. So what happens is the burden falls on your local school district and your local municipalities and counties.
Public and private schools both receive state funding. However, public schools are held to different standards. Nichols explains accountability starts with leveling the playing field.
It's our tax dollars. It's your tax dollars and my tax dollars. It's everyone's tax dollars. And we should see the accountability that those funds are used. If we're going to take state tax dollars and pass them to non-public schools, then the non-public schools should take the same test we take so we see that the success is there. How will we know that those things that the state have done through the Choice Act actually help students? We won't know in our NAEP scores because those schools won't have to take the NAEP, just the public schools. So that's my preaching on accountability, is I just want us all to be accountable and play the same game.
Superintendents say 81% is the closest the state has come to funding a mandated program to date. In Huntsville, Ken McCoy, Fox 54 News.
Huntsville City Schools also addressed school safety in today's meeting. Superintendent Dr. Clarence Sutton says school safety is a big priority for the district. This year, they provided extra training and resources at all of their campuses. He also notes after recent events, they are looking to expand more security measures on the elementary level.
We also have weapon detection systems in all our middle and high schools. Again, now we're looking at how do we have to expand that to help our elementary schools. So it's a lot of collaborative effort. We thank our teachers and our staff, but we want to improve each day to prevent any incident.
The district has not yet set a timetable for weapons detection systems in the elementary schools.
Family and friends of a woman shot and killed while working at a Circle K honor her life with a balloon release. Her name is Taylor North. She was killed last weekend. Dozens of people showed up carrying mostly blue balloons you see there. That's because blue was her favorite color. There was a meal train fundraiser for North's family, and organizers brought a box for cards and donations that they took to her family after today's event. They also had signs to advocate for Taylor's Law, which they say would protect clerks from future violence.
A barrier between the person working behind the counter and the customers coming in, so that way if something like this were to happen again, they'd be protected. If it would have been there, then it wouldn't have gotten to her. That way no more lives have to be lost.
And North left behind a husband and a 4-year-old son, as well as the dozens of family and friends who will miss her dearly. More money could be on the table for Decatur City leaders. It's where we start. I'm Kenesha Dees. Council members met in a special session earlier today to discuss potential salary increases for their positions and the mayor. If it gets the current city council's stamp of approval, it would bring pay raises from between $5,000 and $13,000. It would mark as the first time since November of 2012 the positions would see an increase to their salary. Our Gabe Glassman takes us through how much money each position will now make and the timeline of the potential change.
Significant for Decatur's top government officials. The city council currently makes around $16,000 per year. The council president a little bit more at $18.5 grand. Those city council positions are part-time. The mayor, however, a full-time employee. They make around $106 grand each year. These would be the new numbers, with city council getting a raise to $21K, the council president goes to $24 grand, and the mayor would get a just under $14K boost to $120,000 each year.
I know that it's something that the new administration will likely value, both the mayor and the council.
The salary change wouldn't take into effect until November of later this year, meaning one of the people who will not see a pay raise is current Decatur Mayor Tab Bowling.
It can be a 24/7 type of job, career, and pleasure. So I think that this is good news.
Mayor Bowling isn't seeking another term, but he says this pay raise could also work as a recruiting tool for people to take these positions.
Council positions are part-time, but we have a lot of council members that give us a lot of full-time attention. They work more hours, and we certainly appreciate the work that they do for the city.
But not everyone is fully on board with the pay increase.
Given the current climate here in the city, lack of oversight in some departments, just overall decline in how things are operating, I think really instead of giving the mayor position a pay raise, we need to look at maybe scaling it back.
The vote to potentially implement the salary raise is scheduled for the next city council meeting on February 17th. In Decatur, Gabe Glassman, Fox 54 News.
This pay bump would keep Decatur mayor somewhere in the middle of the pack. Athens pays almost $72,000 per year to their mayor. Madison comes in around $119,000. Huntsville pays the most at $153,000. Yeah, multiple agencies were dispatched to a vehicle flooded underwater early this morning in Falkville. Falkville Fire and Rescue, among other agencies, responded to a truck underwater. Just look, on a road around 4:15 this morning. A Falkville swim-water swimmer, along with a member of Morgan County Rescue Squad, reached the person who made it to the roof of their car. The person was returned to land safely to be taken to the hospital. We talked to the two officials who assisted in this mission.
We pretty much have a set roads that flood, so we're prepared for it. We know what all roads are going to flood. We go out and just keep an eye on them so we can prepare, where our likelihood of calls are going to come in at.
With the temperatures and the fast-moving water, that's a very dangerous situation. Hypothermia can set in within 10 minutes. So we were able to get out to him and get him safely off the vehicle and back to shore.
Officials say this truck was stuck in 5 feet of water. They're reminding people who are driving, if they do encounter a flooded road, to turn around, don't drown. Falkville Fire and Morgan County Rescue officials say to use extra caution, especially with low visibility.
When you encounter flooded roadways, it's a very dangerous situation. We understand it's an inconvenience to your travel and your plans. But the risk's not worth it.
It only takes about 10 inches of water, which will completely wash a small vehicle off the road. In less than 2 feet will wash a full-size SUV off the road. And more importantly, driving through it, you don't know how deep it's going to be when you're crossing.
Yeah, you never know. Officials say with potential flooding to roads, best practice includes allowing extra time to get to work or school.
Do you remember that brief overnight storm in Athens back in December? It ripped through the downtown area, taking out storefronts and trees until it left as quickly as it arrived. Today, the CEI bookstore cleaned up most of the rubble, and they got quite a help from supporters who wanted to help out. Up to 24 volunteers came to clean between 8 and noon today, picking up, sweeping, and tossing their away a breeze. They didn't get it all done in just 4 hours, but they'll be out cleaning during the next week to get everything ready for another grand opening. Fox 54's Caleb Aguayo went out to Athens to show us how the people are picking up the pieces.
I'm here at CEI Bookstore in downtown Athens. If you remember our previous coverage, then you'll remember that this entire place was inaccessible because it was filled up with debris. But today, dozens of volunteers from all over the community have come in to help clean it up. And they told me about the work it took to get the job done.
We just kind of started making pathways, and what you see now has been cleared out. Almost every square foot has had something removed from it today.
Back in December, the roof was ripped off the building and books and pages were scattered across town. But the stuff left inside tattered and piled up as parts of the building collapsed, leaving a mess for just over a month. Volunteer Allison Hammond says some spots were worse than others.
If you looked in that room there, it was a mess. There was air ducts down everywhere. Insulation, wires, it's just, we could barely walk 2 feet in the room, but now we've got that up, carpet up, you can walk in there freely now.
And she says the dozen workers made light work of entire rooms. By noon, most of it was cleaned off the floor and into a pile that took up the loading bay.
It's in front of what you can do when you put your mind to something and have people come together from the community.
The bookstore's director of operations, Lance Taylor, says they got about halfway done today. They're still up to a half a dozen loads of trash headed to the dump, but for the next few months, they'll be opening up shop on on Washington Street until they can repair the building that got destroyed.
We take it one day at a time, do what we can do each day, and but it's been pretty wild.
But Taylor says what made it wild was the support that he didn't expect.
It's not just these that have shown up today, but I mean, we've had phone calls and emails and letters sent to us and everything, and people are just so supportive, wanting us to know that they care and know that they want us to stay around and hope to see us, survive all of this, and we are. And I mean, it means the world. It's it's the wind under our wings, so to speak, keep us going day to day with all the different things we've had to tackle.
As the old saying goes, many hands make less work. In Athens, I'm Caleb Aguayo, Fox 54 News.
Guns in school, something no parent wants to hear, but it was a reality for not just a parent, but for a Huntsville City School Board member. Ken McCoy has more.
My son is a third grader here, and so it was definitely concerning on many levels, specifically as a parent, but also as a school board rep. It's the worst nightmare that you could imagine. It's avoidable, and what we can do is start holding each other accountable.
For Andrea Alvarez, it was hard to imagine a second grade student would bring a gun to Challenger Elementary. But on Thursday, one was brought onto campus and accidentally discharged. According to some parents, the only item that stopped the bullet from going through another student's backpack was a computer. Weapon detection systems were already planned to be installed in all 25 elementary schools starting next school year. But now, plans are being pushed forward.
We were trying to be smart to get all the kinks out, to know which systems work best, what would work best with our children, with the type of laptops they carry, things like that we were trying to get ahead of, and the intent was to roll those out in the fall. We are now, evaluating and looking if there's any way to pull that to the left and actually roll them out this year.
But Alvarez says there's also a concern when it comes to budgeting and the need for more manpower.
The real cost burden is manning them. We have a robust campus security officers, and then we also have a great partnership with HPD to have our SROs in the building. But to have 2 people running 25 devices, that's 50 new officers that we have to hire and train and retain.
HPD is currently working with the school system to better understand what happened and how to move forward.
Police have wrapped up their investigation into a close call shooting at Challenger Elementary last week. A student brought a loaded gun to school on Thursday. The gun accidentally fired, hitting another student's backpack, but the bullet was stopped by a laptop inside that bag. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Investigators say they spoke with the child who brought the gun to the school. The student couldn't explain how they ended up with the gun. Authorities were also unable to find how the gun was placed in the backpack in the first place. A safety plan was discussed with the student's family. The district attorney's office has decided not to issue a warrant for the second grader's unlawful possession of a gun. HPD also consulted with the victim's family, the Neves Davis Center, and the Madison County District Attorney's Office to decide on the next legal steps. Hundreds online voicing their concerns about President Trump rescinding a federal grant that's impacted local Huntsville Utilities customers. It was called the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, and it was a supplemental grant from the Biden administration that gave out $100 to the 255 local people who applied to help them pay their bill. But it was taken back by the federal government. From that, almost 50 people have been unable to pay back the $100 credit placed on their account. Fox 54's Caleb Aguayo went out to the Community Action Partnership to find out more.
Imagine a $100 credit being added to and then taken out of your utility accounts. Then imagine not being able to pay off your bill because of it. That's the case for nearly 50 people in Huntsville after President Trump paused federal grants, impacting over 200 Huntsville Utilities customers in total. They got the $100, but were soon sent a letter saying they needed to pay it back next month.
Next month bill, that $100 they will be responsible for the $100.
For most of the 255 applicants, it was a debit placed on their account. That means they won't have to pay it back until the next bill comes in. Until then, Huntsville Utilities told Dolores Maston they won't disconnect those customers unable to pay their bill because of the pause in the grant.
I have been assured by Huntsville Utilities no one will be disconnected over this pause.
And she says the Community Action Partnership will be here to help those customers get through the hard times ahead.
Community Action is still here to assist in helping those to become self-sufficient. I say that if we cannot provide the service, we will try to connect you with a local resource. So we are still committed to doing what we're here to do.
And the Huntsville, Alabama Community Resources Facebook page, or the HACR, is committed to helping those affected customers pay their bill.
As we raise the funds, we're going to immediately
try to reach out to Huntsville Utilities and pay the $100 credit that has been taken away.
In fact, they set up a donation page to help people pay off their utility bill.
We just started it today, and so we just got a donation in just a few minutes ago of $200, and so truly grateful for that. And so we're going to just look at the people that have made posts and see how they actually received that letter to determine how we'll do it.
But Maston says she's hoping the $100 grant will come back. Until it's declared permanently gone, she's calling it a pause in the grant that could get redistributed later in the year.
A Huntsville community group rallied support to help customers pay back their dues, but we learned today that the funds have run out. Latoya Whitfield with the Huntsville, Alabama Community Resources announced today that utility bills were paid this morning for some individuals in need, but she also noted that available funds have been exhausted and many at-risk customers are still seeking assistance. If you want to help people affected by the pause in the grant, you can contact the Huntsville, Alabama Community Resources Facebook page. We have both of those links on our website, fox54.com.
Now, Fox 54 Top Teacher, sponsored by Calhoun Community College.
Math is one of the more tough subjects to learn. A lot of us can remember this back from when we were in school, but one educator is breaking those learning barriers, meeting students where they are, and doing so exceptionally, we're told. Meet top teacher Karen Stevenson from Decatur Middle School. In Karen Stevenson's class,
I take kids in a small group setting and try to meet their needs individually.
It's all about math.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Stevenson taught students for 27 years, most of them in high school. But the last 4 she spent teaching middle schoolers.
I wanted something different, and I wanted a challenge, and that's what I got.
Stevenson says it's a good challenge, though.
Kind of kept me on my toes. And I like the change, to have to do new things. It just makes me dig a little deeper.
She says since taking on middle school students, she's able to address the math gap before they move on to high school.
This made me back up and dig a little deeper into the why behind some of the things I was teaching at the high school. Now I see why the kids were doing things the way they were doing and where the gaps might be from when they would get to me at high school to what maybe I could do at middle school.
Her colleague, Brad Newton, has been the principal at Decatur Middle School for as long as she's been here, and he's seen a lot.
She does an excellent job of providing individualized instruction for each of her students. She really digs into their strengths and weaknesses and helps build those strengths and bring up those weaknesses.
Stevenson says the students have a desire to learn and improve in areas where they struggle.
They've gotten better about coming to me, like if they need help for a test that's coming up, they're like, will you help us study for this?
It's moments like these that Stevenson says makes it worth getting up every morning.
I just love these kids. I do. I love to see them smile. I love to see the light bulbs go off. I love to just be there. It's the little hugs and the hi, Miss Stevenson, how are you today? It just makes it worth it.
Oh yeah, congratulations, Karen. Well deserved. We've got the moment Karen was surprised as top teacher, plus an extended interview on Fox 54 Plus. By the way, nominated teacher on fox54.com. Huntsville's builders. Who do you think of? The historic Huntsville Foundation says many of them were Black workers and entrepreneurs who found freedom after the end of the Civil War. Their history defined the Reconstruction era, and their developments put Huntsville on the map in the post-war South. A brand new interactive tour takes you through downtown to showcase the buildings and other sites built by them. The trail has already had more than 400 visitors, with more on the way. The Cornerstones of Freedom Trail features downtown Huntsville as it was imagined by the Brandon family, as well as the other Black leaders that helped construct our city. Fox 54's Caleb Aguayo went out to the Harrison Brothers hardware store to find out how they did it.
Old-time Huntsville, but centered around Black contributions to the Tennessee Valley. That's the goal of a new downtown trail organized by the historic Huntsville Foundation right behind me. And according to its executive director, it highlights a history that shaped our city. That history tells the story of Black business people and entrepreneurs who literally paved the way for the city we know today. They brought in the bricks and set the mortar in downtown Huntsville after the end of the Civil War. This tour, Cornerstones of Freedom, focuses largely on the Brandon family, which built at least 16 sites around the modern-day courthouse.
We see Huntsville as it existed
today. And so what we wanted our walking tour to do was to introduce you to a community in Huntsville, a black community who contributed mightily to the history of Huntsville. And we think our walking tour is a good start for that.
Castellano says in 1865, up to half of Huntsville's population was black. Highlighting these sites highlights their often overlooked contributions in the Reconstruction era.
Their facades have changed, but they're still there. And so as you walk around and go up next to Big Spring Park, we highlight sites that are no longer standing, but that were critical to the development of the black community.
But this black history hasn't always been celebrated. Castellano says the foundation used to focus primarily on white landmarks. Now it's their goal to change the narrative.
We've developed techniques and the ability to look beyond the traditional movement, which was primarily focused on white spaces. And so we realized to do justice to our mission that we had to learn to look beyond that as well.
And their next mission? To mark these old sites with signs and QR codes so you can see the history unfold in front of you.
We love having the brochure, we love having it being available online, but the goal for this tour is to have signage strategically located around the courthouse square so that people can swipe it with their cell phone and they can just pick up the tour at any part.
And District 4 City Councilwoman Michelle Watkins says it's more important than ever to remember these contributions for the sake of educating ourselves and our kids.
Black history is being watered down and banned in some places, books being taken off shelves. It's important for us to make sure that we are educating our children on the history, what black people contributed to history.
The tour starts at the old Harrison Brothers hardware store, and all 16 spots are available to the public year-round. In Huntsville, I'm Caleb Aguayo, Fox 54 News.
You can find a link to the historic Huntsville Foundation and the virtual tour on our website, fox54.com. There's someone making big moves in the Rocket City. As the first black female city council member in Huntsville, Michelle Watkins has represented District 1 her whole life. Now she sits in the chair, which represents her whole community. Our Gabe Glassman sat down with her, discussing the changes she wants to see before her work is done.
Huntsville District 1 City Council member Michelle Watkins says it's important for her to represent her community, a community where some of her earliest memories are also from.
I grew up here in Huntsville, graduated from the greatest high school in all of America, Johnson High.
J.O. Johnson High School is now known as Mae Jemison High and Ronald McNair Junior High. Johnson was the first racially integrated high school for the Rocket City.
Going to that school and it being diverse opened up my eyes to a world of different things. I think it's important to have diversity because when you go to work with people, you need to understand different cultures, races, and backgrounds.
Watkins also graduated from Alabama A&M University. She and her family have stayed true to North Huntsville.
My family lives here, I work here. I lived in the same community I grew up in, and it's just been, it's been great.
And after a lifetime of memories, Watkins now sits in a prominent position for her city.
Here we are in 2025, and we're talking about I'm the first African-American female to sit on the council.
Her hope is for more growth for the whole city and for her part of town.
I want to see more growth in North Huntsville. My focus is primarily going to be on economic development in District 1, curb appeal, attracting people. One of the things I said when I ran was I could have moved out of the community several years ago, but I believed in the community, so I stayed even when everyone else left and people were like, why are you still living in District 1? And now I want District 1 to be the place where I tell people come back home.
And Michelle is hoping to achieve her goals with her community in mind.
The greatest feeling is getting to represent your community.
From North Huntsville, Gabe Glassman, Fox 54 News.
Michelle Watkins was sworn into Huntsville City Council in late 2024. She previously held the Huntsville District 1 Board of Education seat.
Black-owned businesses face a number of challenges, including getting the proper exposure to reach a bigger audience. This Black History Month, one creator has an innovative way of getting the word out, and it could fit in the palm of your hands. The Black History Month digital flipbook serves as a powerful resource for consumers that features a curated selection of businesses, special promotions, and inspiring success stories. The hope is that more Black businesses are seen in a whole new light.
There's definitely a challenge there, just having to elicit everyone else's buy-in to realize that we are here, we are professional, we do want to help the community. And so it's a little bit of a challenge, but I like challenges.
Like you just spoke to Toya, and she is so professional
And her business is doing absolutely well because she conveys that professionalism in what she does. So I think that is one that really needs to debunk. We are professional in what we do, and we are good at what we do.
All right, for more on this story and to get your digital hands on the book, visit.
Millions watching the Super Bowl tonight were hoping to score a win of their own. Gambling and the NFL go hand in hand, but Alabamians aren't getting a cut. As it stands now, Alabama is an island surrounded by gambling waters. Nearly all of our neighboring states have legalized a chance at some fast cash, but there is a new push for betting in Bama. Fox 54's Simon Williams tells us what lawmakers are considering in this new legislative session.
Gambling on the big game is big business. From picking a winner to timing how long the national anthem will take, people can wager on almost anything. It's reflective of the expansive presence sports gambling has taken up in the sports fan experience. Gambling in most forms is still illegal in Alabama thanks to the state constitution, which bars lotteries. And while the push to legalize some form of gambling in Alabama is not new, the prevalence of sports gambling through apps has made recent pushes more intriguing after a sweeping lottery and casino proposal failed in the state Senate last session. State House Speaker Republican Nathaniel Ledbetter of DeKalb County said he wants any gambling bill to start in the Senate this year. Two of the bills pre-filed for this year's legislative session deal with gaming. HB 41 would make electronic games of chance illegal, among other things. And HB 47 proposes amending the state constitution to allow for the creation of a charitable lottery. The pro-gambling stance is largely an economic argument. They think gambling, but more specifically sports betting, is an untapped tax revenue. State House Minority Leader Anthony Daniels and Republican State House Representative Andy Witt argue lotteries work well in neighboring states.
We're making investments in the education of the people in Tennessee. We're making investments in the education of those that are in Florida and in Georgia. And so I think that the people of Alabama would much rather make an investment in the education of those that are in our own state.
Too much money is going across the state line, period. Second of all, the people in Alabama overwhelmingly support the lottery and the right to vote on it, and they deserve that.
The anti-gambling stance can come out of an appeal to morality. North Alabama economics professor Jason Imbrogno estimates that any tax revenue generated would be marginal and at the expense of creating thousands of new problem gamblers.
I mean, we're talking like this might raise the state budget 1%. I don't think our rules of our society that we live in should allow 1% state tax revenue to go up in order to ruin 20,000 people's lives.
The state legislature's regular session started February 4th, so we could very well see soon whether or not Alabama will hit or stay on sports betting. In Huntsville, Simon Williams, Fox 54 News.
If sports betting ever gets legalized, it would certainly be welcome. According to the Sports Betting Alliance, 75% of Alabama voters want online sports betting on the ballot. Federal and civilian employees across the country returning to in-person work today after an executive order signed by President Trump last week told them to return to the office. Over at Redstone Arsenal, Gate 9 was business as usual with some extra traffic here and there. The Missile Defense Agency also calling its military and civilian personnel back into the office today. In total, the Arsenal employs about 46,000 people. And contractor Craig Brown says that rush hour traffic is only getting worse with everyone coming back.
It's chaos in the afternoons, chaos in the morning. You know, you get people flying around and causing wrecks and being in a hurry, you know, and as far as everyone coming back to work, I think, you know, they need to get back to work and, you know, just take their time and get here and everything will be a lot better.
If you want to beat the morning rush, traffic typically peaks between 6 and 8:30 a.m. The Garrison Command asks everyone to be patient with the transition and to have your ID cards ready at the gate. Lawmakers in Montgomery reviewing a bill that could change what can and what can't be bought at smoke shops. They're considering a ban on this THC product. It's called Delta 8, and if approved, the substance would be as illegal as heroin and LSD and could put many local businesses at risk. Our Ken McCoy has more on how some business owners are feeling.
A possible shakeup in the cannabis industry could spell disaster for many local smoke shops. The bill would classify Delta 8, Delta 10, and other psychoactive TCH variants as Scheduled 1 controlled substances, making it illegal to sell no matter the age. I spoke with the owner of Green Acres Organic Farms, who says this move would not only shut down business for them, but for the majority of smoke shops in the state.
It would be devastating thousands of people across our state, especially cancer patients, small business owners, farmers, many of these people who, including myself, I have a family, 2 children. We built this business almost 6 years ago and have been complying with all laws and regulations, and this would it would put us out of business for sure.
Many say that there is already enough restriction on the product and that this move is taking it a step too far.
Access to it, and we're basically going backwards and removing access from folks. We have a failed medical marijuana program. We passed that years ago. There's a lot of my customers are folks who are still waiting on a dispensary to even be open.
With the ongoing back and forth of the medical cannabis program, Parasolides says this move could help move things along.
They want to cut out their competition. The hemp industry is a huge competition to medical cannabis, and when you're looking at a cannabinoid under the microscope, whether it's medical, hemp-derived, black market, recreational, this cannabinoid is the same, and it's basically big medical trying to cut out the little guy.
He also feels that this is something people should have a choice on.
Why would we not want access to something that has studies, proving it has, beneficial outcomes to these folks? If we can give someone a better standard of life with something that grows out of the ground, why are we trying to hinder that?
In the last 2 years, Green Acres has provided over $57,000 worth of product to Alabamians suffering from cancer. In Huntsville, Kim McCoy, Fox 54 News. If you didn't stay up late with us Sunday for our special edition of Fox 54 News, you missed out on a range of special reports about people and places in North Alabama that hold a special meaning for our local heritage. We'll get you caught up with those reports, but first, here's Nick with a look at the Alabama ties to Super Bowl 59's big winners, the Philadelphia Eagles.
The Philadelphia Eagles and many with connections to the Yellowhammer State are Super Bowl champions. Good evening and welcome to sports. You saw it right here on Fox 54. The Birds crushed the Chiefs 40-22, and let's highlight a couple of guys. Starting with former Alabama wide receiver Devontae Smith. Smith became the first UA player to ever catch a touchdown in Super Bowl history. He's the 5th player now to win a Heisman Trophy, a college national title, and a Super Bowl title, joining the likes of Reggie Bush, Marcus Allen, Charles Woodson, and Tony Dorsett.
Man, it's a blessing. Can't even explain something else. You'll get the feeling like I had then. It's been a rough 2 weeks for me personally. Battling with my injury. A lot of emotions coming back home, playing in front of my family and things like that. It's been a lot for me, man. But I'm grateful. I'm blessed. God is the greatest. Wouldn't be here without him.
Jalen Hurts, you and the Philadelphia Eagles just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next?
I'm going to Disney World. Well, Jalen Hurts spent some time with Mickey and Minnie this morning in Florida as the Super Bowl MVP. He scored 3 total touchdowns and is the first former Tide player to win the MVP since Joe Namath did it in 1969.
Thank you for the support. Being here is such a blessing. You dream about coming here as a kid and to be in paradise. To be in paradise with you great fans, all the great support. Eagles everywhere, across the world. Thank you for the support, and we brought it home to Philly.
Meet a Florence farmer who's going national. He's big on faith, farming, his future, and family. And he wants to expand his family by finding love on the hit reality show Farmer Wants a Wife. Jay Woods showed us around his farm while on a quest to find love. When you're a farmer, you're always on the move.
They're just some big dogs.
And this North Alabama farmer,
Come on, girlie, come on, girlie, come on, girlie.
knows what it takes to get the work done.
My name is Jay Woods from Florence, Alabama.
25-year-old Jay moves hay.
Let's do it.
And moves hay to feed his herd.
We have a cow-calf operation, so basically what that is, you let the cows have calves, and then you let those calves get big, you take them down to the sale barn and get the money.
RNS Farms is owned and operated by Woods' cousin, family is a bit of an institution around here. In fact, many of them live in a cluster of homes just off Woods Lane.
I've been farming for a while now, and I love it. It's something I love to do.
Before farming became the big picture, he had a love for the game of football, taking his game from Florence High School to Michigan and then Duke.
Football just was such a big part of my life, you know. Once I got out of that space, I had to find another passion, and that was farming.
He moved back to the Shoals, bought a home, took over land
Just fall out.
once owned by his late paternal grandfather.
Make sure you want to close it all the way because you don't want to waste that. It's money.
Farming, football, and
Definitely my faith is a big part of what I do. So.
hence the cross on your ear.
I love the cross, you know. I used to wear this in college, and I just got it back. See my boy Kane Brown, he got it in too, you know, one of my favorite country artists.
There's one love missing in his life.
I always wanted to find a person that was like-minded, you know, wanted the same things as me.
Love with the future Mrs. Woods.
Building their faith, building a family in the future. My future is a farm.
Jay is looking for love on Fox Television's Farmer Wants a Wife.
It made sense once I had the opportunity to be on Farmer Wants a Wife. I was like, man, like, you know, this could be a blessing in disguise, and I decided to give it a chance.
But he says he never would have imagined finding love this way.
For the people that know me, I like to do a lot of things behind the scenes.
It's a chance for Jay and 3 other men looking for their wife. A brotherhood, if you will.
Not too long ago, we went on a hunting trip down in Alabama, not too long ago, so the guys are great, you know, John, Matt, Colton.
Now, Jay looks forward to sharing his experience with Florence and the millions of viewers who will be tuning in for the upcoming season.
I know this season is going to be one to remember for sure. So I'm excited about it, excited for y'all to, you know, watch this journey with me and tune in.
Yes, tune in to see Jay's journey to true love on Farmer Wants a Wife Season 3 on Fox 54. It premieres March 20th at 8 p.m. And catch my extended interview and some fun bonus clips on Fox 54 Plus. And if it's the backyard smoker you'll be shopping for, you already know good barbecue takes time. One family has spent 100 years perfecting their craft, and across the decades, they've stuck to one special tradition started by a railroad worker turning award-winning chef. From a modest hand-dug pit, Big Bob Gibson birthed the award-winning restaurant that bears his name. Ken McCoy shows us how his legacy has survived and thrived all these years.
From a makeshift table in his backyard to a staple in the Decatur food scene, Big Bob Gibson has been serving the community through his passion for grilling.
Big Bob started cooking back in Decatur, Alabama in 1925. He was an L&N railroad worker, but he really started cooking in his backyard and friends and family, and more it got more and more popular, and it sort of forced him to open up a barbecue restaurant.
And we'll cook these for at least about 12 to 14 hours.
You know, since 1925, we're looking at 100 years. The restaurant's grown, but we still try to keep the tried and true methods. Big Bob Gibson's techniques and cooking style, we've carried through for the entire 100 years. It's just gotten busier.
The journey wasn't always easy. In fact, a fire nearly shut down operations permanently.
Back in the 1950s, we had a pit fire in the restaurant that just about burned the building down, and there was a chance that, you know, that was the end of Big Bob Gibson's, but they decided to build another restaurant, and we've been going strong ever since.
Commitment to the craft has helped keep the business going all these years.
You know, the first thing to last that long, you know, it goes back to consistent food. You got to put out consistent food, and Big Bob gave us a great blueprint how to do that. But then it comes down to our customers. You know, people have grown up with Big Bob Gibson's here in Decatur all their lives, and they keep coming back. So it's really the community that's helped us last this long.
They say slow and steady wins the race. In the barbecue business, you have to love what you do.
In order to be successful in the barbecue business, you've got to love, you know, the low and slow cooking. You've got to love the pit room, because that's where it starts. It starts at 5:30 every morning. It lasts all night long.
Lily says working with family has its own rewards, but the real success comes from keeping up with Big Bob's love of community.
Big Bob Gibson's is a family-run business, so I get to work with family every day. Work with my 2 sons. They're in the business now, 5th-generation pit masters and restaurateurs, so it's definitely all in the family. Big Bob's is a place people come to see each other. That's where people gather. It's community, it's family, and that's what's made us, you know, last this long.
With a track record like that, another century of success is likely just the beginning. In Decatur, Ken McCoy, Fox 54 News.
What a legacy. Big Bob's has won 10 state championships and 10 world championships with their famous pork, chicken, and beef dishes. For many schools across the country, bands unite over sound and year-round performances. For one Albertville school, their band consists of 350 members and nearly 20% of the school. The Albertville High School Marching Band has performed in countless parades across the country. Our Gabe Glassman talked with some of the band members about what it takes to keep up their astonishing performances.
It takes a whole team to put on a performance. Every member, every note, synchronized and harmonized. And all set to the pulse-pounding rhythm of these guys. In Albertville, home to about 23,000 people, there's an awfully good chance your neighbor has a kid in the massive 350-member Aggie Band.
I think it speaks for itself that we have as many students in the band program as we do. I feel like we have a very high standard that we try to achieve here. We have high expectations.
The expectations are there every time they take the stage, step on the field, or march down the street.
We're getting ready for football games in the fall. Our jazz band has been on a whirlwind tour all throughout the holidays. I think we did 7 or 8 different concerts throughout the community. So we have different entities within the band that are getting performing.
But these year-round performances take plenty of prep work.
It's not really to show the performance of our band. It's to show as a band we come together and we unify under one sound.
It can seem chaotic at a glance.
350 of us is getting thrown onto the field and handed like dot sheets, and it's just like, good luck, I hope you know what you're doing. And then after like a couple weeks, it gets a lot easier and we start like flowing together.
And meeting those expectations brings high reward. The band has been invited to some of the most prestigious showcases in the country. But wherever they may go, and however many tubas, trombones, and trumpets there are, these musicians do it all together.
Over the years, we have really become more like family.
A family with hundreds of voices, all committed to one sound. In Albertville, Gabe Glassman, Fox 54 News.
One sound. Well, the Albertville Aggie Band has performed at Macy's Day Parade, Thanksgiving Day Parade, Rose Bowl parades, and other big stages in the United States.
It's a Huntsville legend that's steeped in mystery and folklore. It's a place you might have visited on a night like this. Maybe you drove your car up the road near Maple Hill Cemetery to see if there are youthful ghosts from long ago still playing here. Maybe you've aimed your headlights into the dark, hoping to catch a glimpse of a swing moving on its own, as if a small child is there right now, in spirit. Welcome to the Dead Children's Playground. In the daylight, this place seems like any other neighborhood playground, so I wanted to dig a little deeper and discover why New Jersey-based author James Cain chose it as the setting for his disturbing new horror novel. You'll hear from James a little later in the newscast, but first, I spoke with local author and noted historian Jackie Reeves to ask why there might still be spirits of dead children from long ago playing here.
We know that the Spanish flu arrived here in Huntsville in October of 1918. At that time, over 300 people died in the month of October. And here at Maple Hill Cemetery, there were more burials in 1918 than any other year. And if you had somebody in your family that passed away, you would put their body on the front porch, notify someone to come pick them up, and they would be buried without benefit of family or clergy present.
So, of those 300, is there an estimation of how many of them were children?
No, we don't know it because they didn't have the exact forensics that they have now. So most of the children were listed as having died from teething, from having their teeth come in. There are some people who say that this playground is haunted, and there are others who say that it isn't. But people who say it is swear by it and say that the swings will swing by themselves, or somebody told me last week that they had a child sitting on the swing and she just started swinging by herself and she wasn't able to do it herself. So is it or is it not? I think that's why the gates are locked after dark.
Have there ever been reports of actual children, alive children, interacting with dead children?
Some people say that it happens, but you know, children have imaginations and adults do too.
So first, I kind of want to know, how did you first come across the story of the Dead Children's Playground?
I came across an article called The Scariest Urban Legend from Each State.
And of course, Alabama's legend was the Dead Children's Playground, and something about it just stuck out to me. And I knew it was going to be one of the first ones, if not the first one in the series I did, and it ended up being the first one.
What about the story kind of just stuck with you?
It's just something about it, and something about the idea of the spirits of the children being able to play somewhere after they're no longer here on Earth. It's just something about it. Just like I said, as a parent and as someone who enjoys horror and things that actually scare you, there was so much there to mine and to make a story out of. And I think because it scared me, I think that's why it was such a compelling topic to write about.
You're not based locally. You're obviously from New Jersey. So how much research did you do about the local area?
There were little snippets here or there, different forums, different social media posts, some YouTube videos, things I found. But those kind of stories basically told us about the cemetery and the legend of the playground, and how the swings come alive at night, and you can hear the laughter and chills and see the orbs and things like that.
So we also talked about in our emails that you did change the names of a couple of different things. For example, there's in the book, it's Big Al's Deli. Now there is a deli in downtown Huntsville, but it's a Jimmy John's. Or you mentioned the church. There is a church in downtown Huntsville, but you changed the name. Why did you change some of the names?
Because I didn't think, due to the nature of the story, especially with schools, that was important when you're dealing with ghosts of children and children being in peril and deceased. The last thing I wanted to do was use actual real school names.
Once among the nation's elite athletes, now he can hardly move, but his resolve is stronger than ever. Good evening, I'm Kenesha Dees. If you've been in Alabama for a while and you're a football fan, this may be how you remember Kerry Goode, a state champion in high school, a top recruit to Tuscaloosa. The past decade has been difficult, but tonight, only on Fox 54, Nick Kuzma shows us how Kerry is drawing on his family and his own inner strength to defy the odds and to make a difference.
For Kerry Goode, this is the sound of survival. A machine keeping him alive by doing something as simple as breathing. It's something most of us do every few seconds without even a thought. But for Kerry, it's been this way now for nearly 7 years.
I've got to have someone with me 24/7, 365. I am unable to just get away from it all.
For Kerry and others who live with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, the losses come in stages. The ability to walk, later to speak, eventually to breathe. A devastating reality Kerry had to face after he got the news in 2015.
Accepting my diagnosis was not all that difficult. I am a it is what it is kind of person. Deal with what is, not what you wish it to be.
If you go by the numbers, Kerry shouldn't be meeting with us today. He's far outlived the average life expectancy of someone with ALS. And while the disease has taken so much from this former top-tier athlete, it's also given him power and the realization
that I am a badass, and that I am tougher than a $2 steak. I have overcome things I would have never imagined. My ability to endure this disease daily amazes me. ALS will test every part of you.
It may be the biggest challenge of his life, but certainly not the first. In the early 1980s, Kerry Goode was a star at Hazelwood High School in Town Creek. He helped lead his team to state championships in 1981 and 1982, starting one of the greatest dynasties in Alabama sports history. The program went on to claim 9 state titles in 20 years.
My fondest memories of Hazelwood High School was being a Golden Bear. That meant something to everyone that attended the school. Winning championships was something that drove us to be the best. We may be from a small town and high school, but I would put my money on the 11 that took the field for Hazelwood.
At the University of Alabama, the running back from Hazelwood became more than just a Lawrence County legend.
He's got one man to beat. It's going to be 99 yards and a touchdown.
Goode racked up more than 700 total yards, scored 3 touchdowns, and was named the 1983 SEC Freshman of the Year.
Here comes Kerry Goode. Touchdown easily, Alabama.
But a knee injury in his sophomore season opener, a game in which he found the end zone 3 times, would plague him throughout his playing days and shorten his pro career.
He's in a lot of pain. He's tried to walk. I doubt very seriously he'll be back in the ballgame tonight. Right now, they're just going to pack it in ice.
Now living in suburban Atlanta, Kerry battles a terminal illness, but he doesn't do it alone. For behind this great man is a great woman.
My wife, Tanja, has been my biggest supporter. I get on her nerves, but she keeps coming back for more.
The two met while students at UA, and according to Tanja, it was love at first sight.
I noticed him, he noticed me, and we locked eyes, and as I was continuing on the class, we just didn't stop looking at each other.
Kerry and Tanja dated in college, and though they drifted apart for several years, they found their way back to each other and got married in 2003. The ALS diagnosis was a shock, but out of tragedy, opportunity. An opportunity to help others. They created the Goode Foundation, which has raised about $500,000 for patients and families affected by ALS.
Tanja and I were sitting in the clinic waiting room, and patients were sharing horror stories about their ALS journey, and I wanted to do what we could to help others.
It has been the worst, best thing in the world. I mean, it is so fulfilling to see people and to help people.
Every morning, Tanja dresses and feeds Kerry. That can take up to 4 hours. For most of us, having to live with this ruthless disease or even watching someone we love struggle with its effects is unimaginable. But Tanja believes she was put on Earth, at least in part, so she could be there for Kerry.
It is not just for better. It is not just for richer. And it is not just for healthy times. You got to take the poor. You got to take the sick. You got to take it all. And when you say I'm down, you got to be down.
And for Kerry, who defies the odds every day he takes a breath, a life well lived is one in which you make an impact on the lives of others.
I set out to show the world the life of an ALS warrior, and most of all, I just wanted to show my children how to fight when things look and seem hopeless. Every day I wake up, I thank God for another day, and I find something that I want my kids to know. Maybe they will teach it to their children, and I can be a part of my grandchildren's life after I'm gone.
One of Kerry's enduring messages is that ALS can affect anyone. He certainly did not expect to be next. Kanisha, it costs upwards of $250,000 just to live with ALS, and that's in part why Kerry and his wife started the Goode Foundation, which you can visit at goodefoundation.org.
Yes, turning tragedy into triumph, spreading the message, spreading awareness. We knew some years back, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge was an initiative to raise awareness. But for you, Nick, what was it like being able to see someone up close and personal with ALS?
It was humbling, and I'm really appreciative of Kerry and his wife for welcoming me into their home to tell this story.
Yes, very powerful story, and we definitely hope that people are touched by it and it impacts, it makes a difference. Thank you so much, Nick.
O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled
you see by the dawn's early hearts we watch were so gallantly streamed, and the rocket's red glare.
That will do it for this supersized Super Bowl edition of the Fox 54 Week in Review. We're taking the next week off, but we'll return with more local headlines to round out the month of February on February 28th. You'll find Week in Review and other original content on Fox 54 Plus. Download it to your TV and watch for free. For Kanisha Dees and the rest of Fox 54 News team, I'm Kim McCoy, wishing you all a happy Valentine's Day weekend. We'll see you next time.